for Richard Hannon. The other filly, Golden Horn filly, from a very successful Italian family. She's quite a strong filly, and Hamhama more of an unfurnished type.
There she is in the background there, Coloratura Soprano. Let's take a look at Subtle Beauty, because the market has confirmed the whisper this morning that there was something significant expected from this daughter of Gleneagles. Paul and Oliver Cole have had first-time out two-year-old winners this season, including by this stallion, including in these colours, and word has it that she's quite smart. She also looks quite fit.
She was the one of them that was revved up in the paddock. As soon as she came in, she was bouncing around on her toes. She's fit, she's lean, she looks like she's tuned in. A few of the others were very sleepy going round there. She knows her job, looking at the evidence of the prelims, and the market speaking very favourably. She's out of Mirage, who herself was a two-year-old debut winner.
First time, well, she won at Brighton, didn't she, first time out, Mirage?
She did, she certainly did, yeah.
Honeypot is a filly that I wanted to take a look at. Hughie Morrison's runner in the first race, not fancied at all, Scheherazade, ran quite well. Honeypot, I thought, was just as nice a type.
She's out of Jamjar, a dual all-weather winner for Hughie Morrison a few years back. But yeah, I would think she's a longer-term prospect, really. Hughie doesn't have stacks of debut winners. He gets the odd one here and there, but generally they improve with their racing.
I mean, you mentioned the family of the Godolphin runner, Romantic Song, and talked about Nathaniel and Great Heavens and so forth. Those horses ran in the Rothschild colours that are sported here by Tom Marquand on Skybright for Ed Walker. Now, this filly by Dawn Approach has a better pedigree than some. She's a massive prize.
She does. She's out of the mare Angara, who was a very, very talented race mare herself. She has been a little bit of a disappointment at stud when you consider she was a Grade 1 filly herself on the track. The horses that she's produced have been more sort of useful handicap type. She's had a couple of horses that won once in their flat careers and then didn't really kick on. So Skybright, daughter of Dawn Approach, Ed Walker, again, you tend to associate the yard with steady improvement with racing as opposed to debut winners.
More money for Subtle Beauty, into 5-1 now. Clearly something expected of this filly, who when we arrived here today was 14-1. He's now a 5-1 shot, Subtle Beauty. Nebulosa 2s, 7-2 Romantic Song. Brunera, 5s into 4s, out to 9-2 again for Hugo Palmer and Khaled Abdullah. And 5s and bigger the rest, and nothing much at bigger prices, though a nibble for Honey Pot. Soft ground, 7 furlongs, Division 2 of this Godolphin Understarters Orders Maiden Filly Stakes. We just wait, I think, for a couple, and they will include the Gamble Subtle Beauty and the market leader for the moment, Nebulosa. And with that, I hope she goes in, we'll rejoin Alan.
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, Subtle Beauty, giving the handlers a few issues. Honey Pot's just gone into stall number 3. Nebulosa was some way behind the others on the way to post. Was very much the last one to get down there. Once again, Subtle Beauty just backing away, reaching for the blindfold now. The well back for Subtle Beauty now with the blindfold fitted. Still 5 more to go in, including her. Moving in the right direction now. She's got 4 handlers to help out here as well, but she's just dug her heels in again near the stalls. Inching toward them now. About halfway in now to stall 8. I think she's in now. Here come the remainder. Coloratura Soprano. Into stall number 4. Big outsider Royal Sefton moving up. Stall 6 there for her. Now Nebulosa. Into stall number 10. Royal Sefton just went side onto the gate. Nebulosa's in. So both on Royal Sefton and Romantic Song. Royal Sefton now still side on. Trying to angle her towards stall number 6. All the others in the gate are still pretty patient enough. Royal Sefton nearly in now. So Royal Sefton installed into stall number 6. Romantic Song to complete the lineup. That's it, they're set to go. And they're off. For Division 2 of the Godolphin Under Starters Orders Maiden Filly Stakes over the 7 furlongs. The last one to load, Romantic Song in the Royal Blue, is one of the first ones to show in the journey, along with the well-backed Subtle Beauty in the pink and green. Followed closely then by Brunera. So that one's inside is Your Fancy. Against the running rail is Honey Pot. Wider out 3 horses down the centre. Those are Nebulosa together with Sky Bright, and just in front of that one is Ham Hammer. All back towards the bigger group, toward the running rail, pushed along Royal Sefton together with Coloratura Soprano. Now 2 horses racing isolated from the others, Romantic Song and a Honey Pot. The bigger group now just off the running rail as they head inside the final 3.5 furlongs. Nearly a 4-way go for the leaders. Nebulosa's made a big move at this point to come through to pick it up. Nebulosa in the white alongside Brunera. With those then is Subtle Beauty. Over toward the running rail is Romantic Song. Then came Honey Pot and Your Fancy, followed by Coloratura, and then came behind Coloratura Soprano is Ham Hammer. Royal Sefton's dropped right up. They go inside the final quarter mile, and it's Nebulosa sent to the lead under Oshie Murphy, now by a length and a half clear from Subtle Beauty. Then came Brunera and the weakening Romantic Song. They're inside the final furlong. Nebulosa 2 lengths to the good of the battling Brunera and Subtle Beauty. Then came Romantic Song inside the final 100 yards. It's Nebulosa. She'll get off the mark at the 3rd try. Nebulosa in front. From in second, Subtle Beauty just ahead of Brunera. Then came Romantic Song clear for Coloratura Soprano and Honey Pot.
Sure, she had the benefit of experience. She'd run twice before, but she won easily, Nebulosa, the 9-4 favourite. The hooded daughter of Archipenko in the colours of the breeder Kirsten Rousing for Andrew Balding. And Oshie Murphy just inching ahead with his lead in the Jockeys' Championship, which I'm sure will interest some and not others. She's well clear. It was a good battle for second between Brunera and Subtle Beauty. That's just been won by Subtle Beauty, the newcomer, well-backed newcomer, by Glen Eagles for Paul and Oliver Cole, and Sean Levy and Brunera is 3rd, James Doyle for Hugo Palmer. Really panned out much as the market suggested it might, Martin.
I think she has appreciated the extra test of stamina on softer ground than previously, this filly Nebulosa. She's very strong up the hill. She was last time as well. The race just got away from her a little bit last time out, although it might have been won by a very good filly in Saffron Beach, who we will see later on the card. This is a timely boost for her chance later on, with that strong that form already receiving a boost.
We liked Saffron Beach on debut, didn't we, Lydia?
Yeah, we did. But there was plenty of promise from this filly. I like the way she built from first to second start, and I do think the extra accent and stamina has helped her a lot. You're going to see her staying at least 10 furlongs, probably a 1.5 miles next year, and this is very encouraging for what level she might be able to do that at.
I think to be at her best, she may want softer ground. She's by Archipenko, and a lot of them do excel on soft ground in particular, and she has handled it really well. She also handles the track really well, which, you know, she's obviously a really well-balanced filly. For a young filly, she's really well-balanced, and she's handled it twice here at Newmarket extremely well.
Brunera's run much better today.
She has. She was more settled, and encouragingly, she's really seen her race out. So again, there'll be progress there. Subtle Beauty, there was good money for her. She did know her job. She flew out of the gate. She was able to make the running against some experienced horses. She showed plenty of ability, but she was very clued up for a newcomer.
I got the impression that the second and third might like a sand surface. The winner, I think you're right, looks very, very comfortable with some dig.
I'm sure John Gosnell will be pleased with the debut run of Coloratura Soprano.
I'm sure he would be. Do you know the derivation of that name? I don't. I'm completely lost on
I
that.
would have to defer to my wife on this, but I'm pretty sure Coloratura is a style of soprano singing which involves a lot of colour, so a lot of trills and runs and
right. Okay.
that sort of thing.
Okay. You learn something new every day. Excellent.
Yeah.
You don't fancy a demonstration, Nick?
No,
No.
I shan't be warbling on the blasted heath this afternoon. Oshie Murphy might be, however, because he has ridden This a bit of a hailstorm as well as they're in.
Just a bit, Chris, yeah, about 20 minutes earlier, just said it's probably the warmest day we've had at York in October, and then next minute it was hailstones.
Yeah, absolutely. They're down at the start nice and safely. Logician actually just played up a little bit going out onto the track, didn't he? He was just a bit reluctant to go out of the paddock, but Martin Harley got him out there in one piece, and he was absolutely fine. And you would think that the step back up in trip today is something that's going to suit him, and unbeaten in 6 starts. He's a progressive horse. He's got some very strong form in the book, and he won the Ledger obviously in tidy fashion last year, so he's going to take an awful lot of beating in this.
He is, yeah, he's rated 118, he's earned that sort of rating, won the Ledger in course record time back end of last season. Then he had obviously had his problems at the start of the year. Good to see him back on track at Doncaster last time, albeit in a 2-horse race. Backcountry trip's going to suit him. We mentioned in Marty Card about tactics. We'll see what Martin Harley does with him. I suspect he might just let him bowl along out in front because he obviously stays further.
Yeah, he does. Made the run in that match race, obviously at Doncaster the last time out. The ground is something different for him, but as you said earlier, his full brother Collide handled soft ground, and lots of the other siblings as well went with giving the ground.
That's right, and he's based by Frankel. The races like Collide, Suffused and Sleepwalk, they were all winners on either good to soft or soft ground, so softer ground for him today, but you suspect this is a sort of stepping stone for his 5-year-old career. This season's been cut short for him, but just to see if he can make up a bit of lost time and be a good prize for him as well.
If he doesn't go on and make the running, then I suspect that Yukon Glen will. I think he made the running when he won the John Smith Cup, didn't he? His last 2 wins have been a John Smith Cup and an Old Borough Cup, haven't they? So he's been there in the big handicaps.
He has, and he's shown his versatility. 10 furlongs round York, Marlin 6 at Haydock on his penultimate start, and he obviously ran well in an Ebor as well, finished 5th behind Fujiana Prince, and he wasn't disgraced last time out in the Doomside Cup. Again, back to a mile and a quarter. This is probably more of his trip and upwards, so we'll see what Paul Mulrennan does on him. He knows him really well. He's won on soft ground, he's won on quick ground. He's just been a really likeable, versatile horse who's another horse who's come back from injury.
Yep, Logician, who won the Voltager last year. We've got this year's Voltager runner-up Highland Chief, who was below form in France last time.
He was. That was in the Grand Prix de Paris that contained the likes of Mogul and Inswoop.
And Desert Encounter will probably be played late, looking to use his turn of foot. Last one going to go forward is Highland Chief. Let's get up to Stuart for the call.
And he's in, 4 of them locked away. They're off with Desert Encounter just rearing a little on leaving the stalls. Drops in last place. He's often steady at getting away, and as they meander their way through the first of 12 furlongs, Yukon Glen is taking a while to track over, racing out in the centre of the back straight early in this Group 3 Bet-Safe Cumberland Lodge Stakes. Logician the Grey heading the others closer to the inside running row, with Highland Chief in the pink and green racing just ahead of Desert Encounter. And so Yukon Glen, who runs a solo at the moment, begins to track over, and at the end of 2.5 furlongs or so leads by a couple of lengths from Logician, and then Desert Encounter racing at the quarters of Highland Chief, who's racing freely in 3rd place under restraint. Moving on down then towards the mile point at Yukon Glen, back on the scene of his most important success to date, the John Smith Cup, back in 2018, leading the hitherto unbeaten Logician. They're going pretty steady in the conditions. Highland Chief within 3 parts of a length in 3rd, and then Desert Encounter. And on now towards halfway. This 4-strong field, winners of 28 of their 83 racecourse appearances, and nearly £2 million in win and place prize money. Desert Encounter is currently held up past the 4 the start sleeves, the single biggest contributor to that total, in excess of £1 million in win and place prize money, as Yukon Glen leads, heading towards the top of the straight. It's all been pretty steady and civilised so far. Logician within a half length of the lead, Desert Encounter perking up on the far side of Highland Chief. Tempo lifting now, and they drift centre to near side Yukon Glen with Logician keen to stay upsize. Harley just squeezing along, trying to ensure that he can claim the rail. And the leading two have quickened up here. Desert Encounter on the right being smuggled into it. And then Highland Chief, Yukon Glen plucky from the front. Logician is now going to have to switch to come round him as they head inside the two, because Yukon Glen has got across the rail, and now Logician is hemmed in by Desert Encounter. He's got nowhere to go, Logician. He's beginning to hang, and he's looking very unbalanced, and it's Yukon Glen on down towards the last furlong, pursued by Desert Encounter. Logician has been eased right off. Yukon Glen has made every inch so far. Desert Encounter is wearing away at the deficit, but Yukon Glen is plucky. Desert Encounter gets within a neck. They've got 50 yards to go. Yukon Glen, driven out by Mulrennan, makes all and wins the Bet-Safe Cumberland Lodge. From Desert Encounter, clear of Highland Chief and a disappointing Logician.
Yukon Glen wins 18-1. Paul Mulrennan, Jim Goldie, and does make every single yard. Came over towards that stand-side rail and had plenty left in the tank to fend off Desert Encounter, who came with his usual late run under Harry Bentley for David Simcock. Logician, though, the disappointment, the story of the race, really, given that he just didn't pick up. And Martin Harley was left looking down as the horse looked unbalanced, uncomfortable. Whether there was something obviously amiss, I'm not certain. I mean, something is amiss, the fact that he hasn't run to form. But he came here to challenge and just didn't go through with his effort at all. I hope he's okay. Of course, we all do off the back of that. He just, at this stage, I think Martin Harley knew he didn't want to go on and grab, and couldn't go on and grab Yukon Glen, and he really hasn't run up to what he is capable of. Martin gives him a tap there, and at this stage he starts to roll a bit, and then he does look down and just see if there is something amiss, and he allows him to coast home in his own time quite rightly. Yukon Glen, though, dominant. He does like to go from the front. He likes it here as well, and he's fended off a Desert Encounter, who loomed up just on his outside, but Yukon Glen, in the end, had a fair bit left to see him off and see the rest off in that four-runner Bet-Safe Cumberland Lodge Stakes. And it was, I'm afraid, Logician who came home 4th of 4 in the end. More on that when we get it, with regards to the well-being of Logician. But it was certainly not what he is capable of. He's been beaten at 3s on. Yukon Glen, the winner. Well done to Jim Goldie, to Paul Mulrennan. Yukon Glen wins it at 18-1. Tough horse he is, Yukon Glen. Desert Encounter second at 16-1. No time as yet. I'll give it to you.
Runner-up is out. A quick line on the Cornwallis here from you, Martin Dixon.
Well, I like Acklam Express to run a big race again. I think he's the obvious 5-furlong speedball horse in the race. I think he'll handle the ground and should give a good account.
But Method on the retrieval mission here, after pulling his chance away and then the saddle slipping in the middle park, dropped down 2 grades here, and Oisin Murphy is back on board for Martin Mead. The white colours with the black disc and cap. Some good money for Bahrain Pride, who looked so impressive at Ripon 2 starts ago. A little bit disappointing, or was he, in what looked a very strong running of the Mill Reef. Here we go with Alan for the Cornwallis.
Attalus Bay, they're playing up in stall 8. And they're off for the Newmarket Academy Godolphin Beacon Project Cornwallis Stakes over the 5 furlongs. And through the opening stages, Winter Power is one of the first ones to show, with Attalus Bay playing up just before the start. Then Royal Address on the inside, black and white stripes of Burning Cash. First Company goes prominent in the yellow and purple. Yellow and black wider out is Bahrain Pride, making early forward move as well. Bahrain Pride, First Company, Attalus Bay and Winter Power. Those are leaders ahead of Method, Nomadic Empire and Royal Address. Then came Burning Cash in front of Wings of Adavis, wider out with First Edition. Acklam Express is struggling to go with them as they race inside the final quarter. It's Winter Power just in front from Bahrain Pride and First Company. Then came Method trying to get organised. Burning Cash is sticking on. These are them racing clear from Nomadic Empire, but they're heading inside the final furlong. It's Winter Power under D'Souza by a good couple of lengths to Burning Cash and Method. Then came Bahrain Pride, but it's Winter Power who's cleared to win the Cornwallis Stakes. Winter Power home in front, tight second Method and Burning Cash. Then Bahrain Pride clear from First Company, Nomadic Empire and Royal Address.
For Tim Easterby and Sylvester D'Souza, Winter Power has absolutely bolted up to take the Cornwallis Stakes and could be named the winner some way from home. 10-1 shot, has beaten the muscularly ridden Burning Cash, Kevin Stott for Paul Midgley, and it was a decent enough run from Method, though you'd have to concede that he hasn't really gone on today from where he was at when winning at Newbury earlier in the season. Martin Dixon with me.
Yeah, no obvious excuses really for Method, apart from he didn't maybe get the clearest of runs through, but he's still been beaten well enough, I think, to not completely excuse him, and it's a good run without necessarily building on that real vast early promise. But Winter,
he's just nabbed second, hasn't he? Sorry.
Winter Power was away and gone. I mean, if he settles in a 6 furlong race as well as he was able to settle today, then he's still got potential back over that distance.
That's Acclaim Express. Atalis Bay going up in stall 8, yeah. And Acclaim Express missed it badly and was always on the back foot.
Yeah, absolutely. And Atalis Bay was just upset and restless in the start and has over-raced in the race itself. He's going to have to become more tractable, but it's probably a throw-out run for him.
But Winter Power was always travelling with a lot of enthusiasm. You'd have to concede that Bahrain Pride, the outside the stripe colours, was just a bit too lit up and keen.
Definitely, and racing slightly isolated in that part of the track as well hasn't helped. The 2 horses behind as well haven't been helped by that either, but they've been quite well beaten, and he's just hung towards the rest of them now, Bahrain Pride.
The draw didn't help him, I don't think, did it? Because he was drawn right on the outside, and that's led to his position on the track in that isolated spot. And I would kind of forgive him, I think, for hanging like he did. He's still a horse that's learning the game, for all that he's won a couple of times. But Winter Power, she's got loads of experience. I think that has helped her, but there is no question that on easy ground over this trip the last twice, she's been emphatic with her wins. Certainly today. She's a filly by Bungle in the Jungle. I think I'm right in saying he won this race when it was at Ascot.
Oh, good call.
I think that's right. Yeah.
The Acclaim Express tailed off there.
Yeah, he's run. I mean, there must be something amiss with him to run like that.
I just want to point out First Company, because it looked like a total flash in the pan, that 250 to 1 third in a listed race. This suggests it wasn't.
Yeah, it's run really well. First Company has finished 5th.
Yeah,
the purple cap there. But this is a really impressive performance from Winter Power.
I think they always liked her, this filly. There was a bit of she ran very early on at Newcastle, just after racing had come back.
There was a bit of a buzz about her.
There was a buzz about her. She was hot in the market, and she didn't deliver her first couple of starts, but just steadily that has come about. Winner off a mark of 76 on her nursery debut. She bolted up at Redcar, and ever since then, really, bar maybe one blip along the way, she has just kept on improving with racing, and she's very honest, determined, likeable head carriage, handles slow ground really well.
Do you think this will help Method now that he's had a run back at 5 just to help him finish off a race, and then they might think about going back up to what might be his natural game?
Possibly. His natural game looks like it's 6 furlongs, doesn't it? It might well help him. You'd prefer another.
Is 5 to 1. Leven's now 15 to 2 for Satara. So on for Support is 8 to 1 and bigger the rest. Nazuna doesn't go. Nick brought you that news earlier on, and that leaves this 9 with the market headed by 9 to 4 shots. Saffron Beach.
Yeah, I guess at least I've been of some use today, Tom. 9 to 4 Saffron Beach, then the favourite, made a big impression for Jane Chapelheim on her debut here. If you were with us on Racing TV Extra, you'll have heard us extolling the virtues of the debut performance of this daughter of New Bay. And the one question we posed was, result stands at York, Uzo keeps the race at York, Chance second, Shalir third, Young Fire fourth. Yeah, the question we posed about Saffron Beach was her effectiveness on softer ground today, Martin.
Yeah, and of course it's an unknown, but I don't think the ground's bottomless for starters. I also think the fact that it's going to be a stiffer test of stamina over 7 is no bad thing at all. She was very impressive at every point of that race. She travelled well, and then she stormed away from them in the final furlong. And the form's already had a boost with Nebulosa winning earlier on in the afternoon.
This might be second time out-itis, but she's just got a little bit warm behind the saddle as well.
Yeah.
Which would worry me slightly.
In that level, that is your concern, isn't it? How will she react to her first run?
Yeah, I think immediately afterwards we were speaking to Jane, and she wasn't sure at that point exactly what they would do, whether they would put her away and just bring her back as a 3-year-old. Obviously, they've seen an opportunity here. In essence, now Nazuna's out, doesn't look the deepest of group races.
Thinking of You is clearly a substantial rival, even though ultimately I would have thought she'd want a mile. But I do think the final furlong, the stiff final furlong, is going to help her in that department, and she didn't get the clearest of passages through last time.
Satari was disappointing last time. Mamba Wamba, who might not stay, has been more popular of the pair.
Yeah, she's stepping up to 7 for the first time. I'm not sure the tempo of this race will suit her in the same way that sprints do. A very big price. I wouldn't be surprised to see Alice Starr run quite well.
For David Simcock and Jamie Spencer, they're locked up for the Oh So Sharp. Here's Alan.
And they're off for the Godolphin Lifetime Care Oh So Sharp Stake. The fillies here over the Group 3 7-furlong journey with It's Quite Assassin, the first one to begin, from Saffron Beach in the red, and Satahi racing in the early 3rd place. And then came Thank You Next and Alice Star. Toward the inside is Emulate Rose, Thinking of You, moving by that one. Then Mamba Wamba at the back of the field is Shine For You. It's Quite Assassin out in front under D'Souza by 2 lengths to Saffron Beach in 2nd. Thank You Next is in 3rd place. Then came Thinking of You. Mamba Wamba to that one's outside in the purple with the noseband. Then Satahi and the purple and white Starred Silks. Alice Star toward the inside of the field there in the dark green and white. Then Emulate Rose and the pushed along Shine For You is the back marker. They head the way then towards the final 3 furlongs of the journey. It's Quite Assassin he's made all so far. Leading up from Saffron Beach in 2nd and Thank You Next in 3rd. Thinking of You has been ridden along there, the blue and orange. Mamba Wamba also asking for more now. Then came Satahi and Alice Star, but it's still Quite Assassin who's the one to get by. Saffron Beach trying to draw on terms. Next in behind that one is Mamba Wamba, then Thank You Next and Thinking of You as they head towards the final furlong. Saffron Beach has come through to pick it up. Thank You Next is going out after her, then Quite Assassin and Mamba Wamba, and Shine For You picking up from the back of the field. But it's Saffron Beach under Adam Kirby who leads the way toward the line. Saffron Beach going on to take the Oso chart. Saffron Beach from Thank You Next, Shine For You and Mamba Wamba. These are them racing clear from Satahi.
She's now unbeaten, and it was a good move to come to a Group 3 on just her 2nd start, because she's won it and she's made herself even more valuable than she was already. Saffron Beach, the 9-4 favourite, wins this for the Sangsters and James Wigan, for Adam Kirby and for Jane Chappell-Hyam, who's had useful 2-year-olds this season, useful 2-year-olds in the past, but I venture to suggest none quite as good as this one. And the way she moves suggests once again that she might want a slightly sounder surface, but she travelled again, Martin.
Yeah, she did. She travelled very well. She's paddling a little in the closing stages, and Adams really had to keep at her, keep her up to her work. And I think she was very generous and game in her response, actually, in the latter stages, because she looks like she's finding it really quite hard work. But the fact that she does keep on going and she does keep on responding is to her credit. What's the form worth? I'm not sure, in truth. I think it's quite a weak Group 3 race. They've all finished on top of one another in the finish. There's some quite exposed horses chasing her up right in behind, but that's not to her detriment at all. Right. I think she's actually quite a lot better than the opposition, than the final margin will suggest.
It was a good call to run her, wasn't it? Quite a brave call, I guess.
I think it was a brave call to run her, and it's turned out to be a good one. I really like her determination. I think you can see that she's determined to win in the closing stages, despite the fact things aren't really completely to her liking. Thank You Next has run really well. It makes me wonder whether this kind of ground is really what she wants. But she travelled into this race really strongly. That's something of a compliment to Isabella Giles, who had her well beaten in the Prestige and runs later on in the Fillies Mile.
The ground was a bit of a doubt, because the Prestige, she was struggling, wasn't she? And she just didn't give her a run in. Having said that, I think today's conditions, yes, there is cut in the ground. It's soft, but Goodwood was something else. It was swampish at Goodwood, and she probably didn't enjoy that, but today she's acted well. Mamba Wamba's run a nice race, actually, first try at 7. She's seen the trip out, and yet again she's hit the frame in a group race, and she's been a very honest and consistent filly this season.
She's not very big, Mamba Wamba, is she? I can see why they keep squeezing the lemon.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definite promise in 3rd from Shine For You. He's got loads of stamina on the dam side of things and will do better over further next season. A big step up in grade for her, and she's acquitted herself well and grabbed some black type in 3rd. And clearly, Thinking of You again is better than the bare finishing position. Just as she was beginning to stay on, she was checked there by Thank You Next, and with a filly who doesn't do anything quickly, that's going to be quite materially damaging to her chances. And she's wants a mile right now and further very soon.
I think it's perfectly fair to cast doubt over the strength of the form relative to most juvenile Group 3s, but I think it's equally fair to give the winner quite a bit of credit.
And Shine For You, I would say, is a good prospect, because I think she's probably a middle distance, certainly a 10-furlong filly in making next season, and she's improved a lot today from stepping straight out of novice company.
So I'm looking forward to talking to Adam Kirby, because he's ridden this filly twice today. First, to compare and contrast the 2 runs, and second, to try and work out what kind of prospect she'll be for next season, and third, to find out how much he's looking forward now to sitting on Isabella Giles, who's had a form boost in the Fillies Mile. More on a plate today, of course, and she's got to go the extra furlong too, but Here's a really smart prospect, and she's worth a king's ransom. Now, another one for the first season star New Bay, who's making quite an impression. Saffron Beach has won. So that's Saffron Beach and New Mandate, both impressive pattern race winners for this stallion this season.
Yeah, it's really, really encouraging, isn't it? I was just wondering about Sitahi in this. He's just popping out the back of the picture as we look at it.
Stayed on okay in the closing stages?
Yeah, much better than the Lowther at least, but you wouldn't call her profile progressive, would you?
No, you wouldn't. By contrast, the winner is progressive. She's unbeaten in 2, and they both come here on the Rowley Mile. They're going to have a crack at getting her ready for the Guineas, aren't they?
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yes.
You wouldn't want to... I don't think you'd... if it were mine, I wouldn't be keen on running again this year. No. I think that's job done. You know, she's a good 2-year-old. She's progressed well, but the Guineas would have to be the target, surely.
Starting prices.
9-4 favourite in the end was Saffron Beach. Well done to Jane Chapel-Hyam and Adam Kirby. And connections of Saffron Beach. This is Sangster and Wigan, 9-4 favourite. I think that's an 11th first crop winner for New Bay as well, who's going along incredibly nicely. Over a 50% strike rate. And another one here in this Group 3. 9-1 Thank You Next. Shine For You, 10-1, back in 3rd. Half lengthy winning distance. The time was as follows. The best of Britain and Ireland coming together. Let's rejoin Nick and the rest of the team on course.
Tom, thank you very much as you home in on Shale, who is a daughter of not only Galileo but also Homecoming Queen. And you remember Homecoming Queen's signature performance, which came at this track when, in a performance of shot and awe, she, diminutive as she was, blew away her 1,000 guineas field. It was never repeated, that performance, but she was good here on that one day. And this is her daughter, who looks a very straightforward conveyance on what we've seen so far.
I think she is very typical of a Galileo. She doesn't do anything in a flashy manner, but she gets the job done. She's very honest, very willing. She is a filly that I think will be better coming back up to a mile today. She's been obviously running over 7 furlongs. She's managed to win a Group 1 over 7 furlongs, but coming up again in trip, she won her maiden earlier on in the season over this distance. I think coming back up to a mile will suit her, and she will run very well. But we've touched on her and Pretty Gorgeous early on in the show. Pretty Gorgeous now as favourite. I think she's the right favourite personally. I think that win in the debutante, the 3 times that they've met, that was the one time where there's been one really dominant over the other amongst those 2.
Shale is trained by Donica O'Brien. In the week when it was announced that he had to retire his stable star Fancy Blue, he looks to have another star filly on his hands in Shale, but the case for Pretty Gorgeous to beat her on their 4th meeting is quite compelling. Pretty Gorgeous is much more physically imposing filly.
Yes, she is, certainly. She is that, and she handles soft ground very well. It was soft ground when the 2 horses met in the debutante, and Pretty Gorgeous really stormed away from her in the latter stages. Now, I think Pretty Gorgeous, her chance was gone a little bit last time when she started to pull too hard early on. She jumped out of the stalls well, but she was then taken back looking for cover in mid-division, and it just lit her up through the first 2 furlongs of the race, and I do think that took its toll late on. You could watch that performance and be forgiven for thinking up to a mile she's not got a cat in hell's chance of beating Shale, but I think there was more to it than that, and you look at her previous efforts and the way she was hitting the line over 7 furlongs, I don't think coming back to a mile will be an issue for her either.
Indigo Girl for John Gosden in the George Strawbridge Silks is certainly bred to appreciate a test like this. Lydia, what did you make of her?
Well, she's a full sister to Journey, isn't she? Who ended up winning a 1.5 miles at the top level. It's just whether this race pans out in the same way as the Mayhill did. I think she was well on top in that race, and unless Zabeel Queen finds improvement just for the experience, I think she's going to prove to be by far the best filly from that race.
It is a big field, and the front 4 or 5 bring forward really, really strong form, but there's quite a lot with questionable credentials, sort of making up the numbers as well, Martin.
Yeah, there are. There are some, the likes of Dubai Fountain, for instance. She's had a good season. I think she'll run her race, but it's just a case of whether she's going to be quite up to the task. Lilac Road, who was also behind her in the Mayhill last time out, I think she's probably a middle distance filly for the future. Yeah. But she could run a nice race sort of in mid-division, shaping like a middle distance horse today.
I'm quite interested in how Adam Kirby plays this on Isabella Giles, whether he just lets her play her natural game with a furlong further to run.
Well, he's been sending her a lot, hasn't he? And he's been it's been interesting to note him both in the Prestige and last time in the Rockfell, him keeping her up to her task all the way to the line, as if he's worried that she's going to idle on him. It did look as though she'd got plenty left in the tank.
He absolutely adores this filly, doesn't he? You can just tell from his body language. You mention her, and he erupts into this broad grin. And he's not the most demonstrative person in the world.
No, but when he's fond of his horses, you can tell that.
Horseman, yeah.
He likes, and she likes this kind of ground. We know that she's very effective on it.
Pretty Gorgeous goes in.
She's the filly that's away from the obvious, really, in terms of the connections and the pedigree. She was a 45,000 buy as a yearling. She's already achieving more than she should have done, really.
All in for the filly smile. Here's Alan Howes.
And they're off for the 2020 Bet365 at Fillies Mile. And for this Group 1 contest, Isabella Giles is the first one to show, with Dubai Fountain for company. Lilac Road just in behind toward the outer. They've been trapped by Star of Emirati, and Shale has a leading role as well through these early stages. Then Zabil Queen wider out in the yellow and black. To the inside of her then is Pretty Gorgeous. Then the white-capped Mother Earth and the pink of Snowfall. And with that one at the back of the field, the unbeaten Indigo Girl. Up top it's Dubai Fountain over toward the far running rail. Isabella Giles down the centre. They're followed through by the nose-banded head of Star of Emirati. Then came Shale and Lilac Road. Another length then back to Zabil Queen and Pretty Gorgeous. Just in advance of Mother Earth, and then Indigo Girl and Snowfall is the back marker. They went through halfway. It's Dubai Fountain and Star of Emirati over toward the far rail. They lead up from Isabella Giles down the centre, then Lilac Road and Zabil Queen has gone well to this point toward the right-hand side. Ridden for more now is Mother Earth. Shayla's also been shaken up. Snowfall's next in the field, and then came Pretty Gorgeous, and Indigo Girl is creeping very much closer in the white jacket. It's wide open as they head inside the final quarter mile. Dubai Fountain now ridden over on the far side. Pretty Gorgeous comes there well with Indigo Girl. Next is Shirley's responding to pressure. Then came Snowfall. They're racing out of the dip now, just over a furlong to go. Pretty Gorgeous and Shane Cross lead from the battling Snowfall. Then came Dubai Fountain and Indigo Girl, who's trying to get rolling as they race up towards the line. It's Pretty Gorgeous who's out in front from Snowfall, Dubai Fountain and Indigo Girl. It's Pretty Gorgeous to win the Fillies Mile from Indigo Girl. Then Snowfall and Dubai Fountain clear from Zabil Queen and Shale.
She is Pretty Gorgeous, and she's won the Fillies Mile. Shane Cross for Joseph O'Brien. What a big weekend it could be for Joseph, because he has a hugely exciting prospect to unleash in the Dewhurst tomorrow. But let's concentrate on this John Oxley-owned filly, Daughter of Lorman, expensively bought, because she's won this by a relatively narrow margin over John Gosden's Indigo Girl, but you felt she was always holding on, and she sort of ambled into the race as though she had all the time in the world. She's quite good.
She's very good, yeah. She's really carted through the race, looking like for a long way she was going to win with more authority than she had ended up doing. But I think it is quite hard work for them up the hill in the closing stages. We saw it earlier from Saffron Beach that she was just paddling and finding it quite hard late on. She had to be really determined. I think we've seen that from Pretty Gorgeous again today. And just to mention, Group 1 consolation for Shane Cross, who missed the ride in the St Ledger earlier on in the season, and he's managed to get a Group 1 winner on the board in the UK today.
Absolutely, a very good point. And you'd have not bet short odds that either Joseph O'Brien or Shane Cross would be here, nor this filly 7 days ago when the horse feed fiasco burst.
Well, she was meant to be running in the Marcel Boussac, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She went all the way over to France, so she's got a good constitution, having taken that in and resorting to Plan B here. She settled it quite a bit better. The runner-up, Indigo Girl, hasn't helped herself by rather fluffing the start, which means that she's already, having. I know that is her run style, but it's more of a disadvantage, I think.
Atypically for this track, the winner, runner-up, and third are occupying last, second last, and fourth last at the moment, and it does leave you to suspect, though we don't have evidence to prove it yet, that they've gone hard enough.
Which suggests that Dubai Fountain over there on the left has run a stormer.
Yes, alone virtually against that far rail. I wondered about the significance of Adam Kirby. Isabella Giles was eventually well beaten, appearing not to stay, and she was too keen early anyway. Coming moreover to lead this bulkier group on the stand side, and why he'd done that.
Maybe you just thought the more significant players were over there. He was likelier to have company longer into the race. As it turned out, that was just an academic calculation for him.
Now, the surprise package here is Snowfall, the deep impact filly, who's advanced significantly on what she's achieved so far in third place, Martin.
She has, and I guess Dubai Fountain sort of as well, not being beaten too far. It's another bunched finish, really. There's 4 of them in a line. But similar to Saffron Beach earlier in terms of the winner's performance, I thought if you watch her at every point of the race, she is doing it all quite easily, and then she's just a little bit idle. It might just be that a fairly testing week for her with all the travelling and also the effort that she's made in the mid part of the race to get to the front is just starting to tell a little bit. I think she is a real quality filly, and that's the two.
That was the only clue, just at the end there, which of the two O'Brien brothers had won the race. Just the one little, allowed himself the one flick of the forefinger onto the joined thumb and middle finger. Just the one.
I'm really taken with the runner-up. I mean, I don't think she's a miler. I think she's going to want at least 10 furlongs and probably at 1.5 miles last season. She isn't that big. I suppose that might be of some concern. Journey wasn't that big, though, either.
She's a Dubawi as well, isn't she? They're often a little bit more like that, compact in stature.
But she's going to be better suited, I think, by a 10 furlong target and a 1.5 mile target as the season goes on next season. I think that's a really, really encouraging run for her against a filly who looks like she is very effective at a mile. Probably might get 10 furlongs too, pretty gorgeous, but she shapes more to me as the miler.
Yes, I think that's right. She's got a lot of natural speed. The dam was a sprinter. Lady Gorgeous, she was a fast filly herself, so I don't think she'll be an Oaks type for the future. I think she very much will be a Guineas horse for the spring. An Indigo Girl, the key with her, she's clearly got loads of ability. The key will be just trying to progress that temperament and her mentality. I think she's run a huge race. She's not doing anything wrong, but she wears that hood for a reason. She's obviously a little bit highly strung, and I think that will need managing if she's going to really progress into her 3-year-old season.
The first 4 are clear, aren't they? And I do feel that Dubai Fountain has probably improved again for the mile in testing conditions.
Yeah, definitely. It's Shane Cross who's won the Fillies Mile for Joseph O'Brien in the silks of John Oxley, who's enjoyed notable success in America with the likes of Beautiful Pleasure and the Kentucky Derby winner Monarchos. Has been a leading owner there for many years, and he's now got a good one here as well.
Yes, indeed. This Lorman filly has won that really nicely. She's a beautiful individual, isn't she? And she just looks like she does it all within herself, really. She may not have been visually super impressive by the way she extended away from Indigo Girl, who was closing on her, but I still think it was comfortable enough for Pretty Gorgeous. I think that's the first European Group 1 this year for Lorman as well. 5-2 favourite Pretty Gorgeous wins. Shane Cross, Joseph O'Brien in the John Oxley colours. Indigo Girl second. Snowfall at 50-1 was third. We can have a look at the time. The time was 3.1 outside of standard. 1:39.1 was the time. 3.1 outside of the standard.
It's another group winner from Tattersalls.
.345 is upon us, and another easy one. Copper Knight is 11-2. Must have a really good chance here, though. Arecibo 13-2. Zimbaby 13-2 has been supported. Celsius 7-1. Illusionist 9-1. 11-1, and Bigger the remainder. I did, Chris, after Arecibo ran last time, I did put out a mischievous tweet, if anything, saying, next time for Arecibo. Next time for Arecibo, but in all honesty, I'm not sure there's enough pace on for him here. But that, as 'twas ever thus for Arecibo, Chris.
Wondering if you'd cancel the standing order or not for when the entry comes in, Tom. Really, he'll drop in one day, probably, maybe. It's not as if he hasn't won before. 4 times he's won in the past. He's going to be coming right at the stand side. There's no doubt when you watch, if you just watched it in isolation, the Ayr Gold Cup. You'd think he's shaped well, interesting horse coming into this, but you'd have thought that a few times before, as Tom has.
You definitely would. He's a very talented horse, but he's infuriating at the same time. I think
Racing just keeps on coming at Newmarket. Darley Pride Stakes, fillies and mares Group 3 over 10 furlongs, and Franconia is 7-2 from Angel Power at 4-1. Majestic Nora is 5-1. Magic Lily 6-1. Ananerium's been supported 8s to 7s and 12s and bigger the rest. 14 fillies and mares going to post here, and Franconia heads to betting at 7-2.
This is a really interesting edition of the Darley Pride Stakes, a Group 3 to round off proceedings. We are not going out with a whimper, no, far from it, and indeed the reins have cleared too. And Martin Dixon, just to complete the trifecta here, Dixon has just piped up with "I fancy one at a big price here." Those immortal words that get uttered toward the end of a particularly long racing TV session. I fancy one at a big price here as he tries to march straight up the wicket and tonk one.
I would stop
over
short of saying I fancy, but there is a horse at a big price that I was looking at thinking, why is that such a big price? And that's Oriental Mystique, the filly of David Simcox. I actually thought she ran quite well at Goodwood last time out. She kept to the inside of the track. The first two came down the middle. They probably didn't go quick enough for her either. That was behind Ananerium, which might have been more of an excuse for her really than anything. And she's Kingman out of Madame Chiang. We know that she won the fillies and mares on soft ground, so conditions are in her favour, and she looks to me like she's quite a big price. Well, she is a big price and bigger than she should be.
She, of course, is bidding to restore family honour after her younger half-sister, Rani of Jhansi, failed to go into the stalls and flipped over backwards ahead of the opening race. But the owner has had a winner in the shape of Nebulosa.
It was a funny race at Goodwood, wasn't it?
It was.
And I wasn't completely convinced about Ananerium, and I can see the excuses for Oriental Mystique.
There we are, Oriental Mystique then. Let's just check her price. What was she when you last looked, Martin?
18 to 1.
That'll do. That'll do nicely.
It's an open race, isn't it? You know, there's no standout in the field. I didn't think there was on form. I think it is wide open, so it's the sort of race really where you might be tempted to take a pop at something at a price.
You single-handedly have forced this filly's price from 18 to 1 into 14 to 1 now. 14 to 1, Oriental Mystique. Callum Shepherd taking the ride for David Simcox. Let's head back to the top of the market, and this is the D'Souza hat-trick, and it's on here with Angel Power.
I think it really is on, actually. I was very impressed with her at York. I thought she ran very comfortably in the style of a pattern class filly. I don't think she needed to improve to win at Longchamp last time. I think she's capable of better. We know she handles Goodwood, promised for, handling undulations. I know it's not strictly comparable, but at least all of her form isn't gone flat pancake tracks. Up in grade again, but I think she's equal to it.
I'm not sure what to make of Franconia, because the first of her wins this season, I thought, wow, this could be a superstar. The second of the two wins, I thought, maybe she's not a superstar. She ran in the Yorkshire Oaks, I thought, ooh, horrid. What are we expecting now?
Yeah, I think the Yorkshire Oaks was a too bad to be true run, though, wasn't it? It's sort of almost better in a way than her finishing an honourable third and sort of exposing herself. I think it was just not her running, so she's better than that. She'd won her previous two, the freshened her up. Can she get back on track? Her earlier form would give her certainly a chance in an open race. I echo Lydia's thoughts on Angel Power. She's got to have a great chance here. She's a filly that's got a really good attitude. She's going the right way and conditions look in her favour.
Shall we have a word about Magic Lily here for Charlie Appleby and William Buick? She's a very well-bred filly who's been, able to hold a useful level of form down the seasons, but again, you have to be of a fairly forgiving disposition, I think, Martin.
Yeah, I mean, we've not seen her since June, and she ran disappointingly in June. She is proven on soft ground. She stays the trip fine. She's won at the track, so there's plenty of things in her favour if she was to bounce back to her best form, but it's just a good while since we've seen her. Prior to that, though, she had been very consistent.
I quite like the fresh angle with her, by the way.
Talking of fresh, although this may not be by design, is the filly in shot there, Romsey, who appeared to... Well, she didn't appear to. She did excel herself here in the Guineas when she was an enormous prize.
She's fascinating, isn't she? Because I've always wanted to run over 10 for her, to run over 10 furlongs. I think she'll run really well, and this will be her trip ultimately. We know she handles testing ground because she was at her best towards the end of her 2-year-old season. The only question mark is, where has she been? What potentially has gone wrong?
Yes, and that is something that we're not entirely sure of. There's plenty of these that have, you know, fairly compelling claims. Majestic Nor would certainly be one of them. Built up a good relationship with Holly Doyle.
She has, yes. She's won 3 of her 4 starts this season. She's a very well-bred filly as well, so it's not come from nowhere. The improvement, she won a handicap off a mark of 80. She's won a listed race on her most recent starts. It's another step up for her, and it's softer ground as well that she's got to prove herself on. Majestic Nor. You've touched on a couple of them that are coming here fresh. The filly just in the centre of shot there with the green colours and the white cap is number 13 Trefoil for Rafe Beckett. We've not seen her since disappointing in July. Now, her first 2 career starts were very promising. She won on soft ground here on the Rowley Mile last season on her only 2-year-old start, and then she came back with quite an encouraging third in the Pretty Polly before disappointing on 2 occasions. But she has been freshened up. Perhaps they've found an issue with her that they've put right, and we know that the ground and the track are fine for her.
Yeah, Rafe Beckett on the Rowley Mile in the autumn tends to do rather well. Virgin Snow's 12 to 1, the daughter of Snow Fairy. She was quite progressive earlier in the campaign.
I think she wants 1.5 miles, so the stamina, the extra accent on stamina with the ground might help her.
So they are nearly all loaded for the finale, I think, for this Darley Pride Stakes. It's rather difficult for us to see. I think Magic Lily might be one of the last ones to come forward here. Could it be a hat-trick for Sylvester de Souza in the King Power Racing Silks today, all for different trainers? Angel Power is the filly who bids to give him that, or could Oriental Mystique give Martin Dixon and his legion of followers something to shout about in the last? This is the Pride Stakes, and here's Alan Howes.
They're set. And they're off. They've raced away. It's 1.25 miles for the Darley Pride Stakes. It's Group 3 for the fillies. The mare and Trefoil is the first one to show in the journey. The dark green jacket leading up. It's Stylistique for company in the light blue. Right in behind the Royal Runner, that's the Ward Scheme. The Royal Blue and Magic Lily over toward the inside. The Chestnut, a little bit deeper out, is Angel Fairy. That's in the yellow. Next in the field is Angel Power. Between those in red and green is Romsey. That one is alongside Black Lotus. Next in the field is Franconia with the pink cap, chased through by the lighter green jacket of Ananirium. Back towards the inside is Virgin Snow, then Oti Muboti. And then behind Oti Muboti to the inside is Oriental Mystique, as they begin to head the way up towards halfway. With the lead, and a small lead it is as well, Trefoil. Showing in front for him, Award Scheme in second, Stylistique back in third. Then Magic Lily, followed closely then by Angel Power and Black Lotus, who's in the orange jacket. Angel Fairy deeper out in the yellow. Then Virgin Snow ahead of Oriental Mystique. Behind that one is Oti Muboti. Being pushed along then is Majestic Nor. Then came Ananirium, looking to improve now Franconia. Black Lotus is dropping back a bit as they go inside the final 1/2 mile with the lead Trefoil. From in second, Stylistique. Award Scheme now being pushed along. Magic Lily making ground. So to Romsey in the green and red, looking to find its way through. Oti Muboti, ridden for more Franconia. Angel Power's angled out now to get a good look at them as well as they race down in towards the final 1/4 mile of the contest. Stylistique now driven up to grab the lead. Magic Lily goes with her. Then Trefoil battling away toward the inside. Virgin Snow's coming up with a late run in red and yellow, and also still improving is Angel Power wider on the track. These 5 then go on as they head towards the final furlong. Trefoil, Stylistique, Virgin Snow, and together with on the outside Angel Power. Looking to get rolling late, Oriental Mystique, but it's out in front here, Angel Power. It's another one for King Power, and the Darley Pride Stakes will go to Angel Power, and a treble on the card for Sylvester de Souza. Angel Power from the running on Ananirium, who's got second. Then Virgin Snow ahead of Trefoil, followed then by Stylistique and Oriental Mystique.
Whoa, there's plenty of power at Newmarket today. All the power, 100 to 30 favourite. Angel Power wins, adding to the successes of Winter Power in the Cornwallis, Happy Power in the Challenge, and now in the Darley Pride Stakes, Angel Power has won. Sylvester de Souza and Roger Varian combining.